Let's preview the Cincinnati Reds for 2026 up next on Fantasy Baseball Today. Welcome to On the Beat, our mini team preview series here at Fantasy Baseball Today. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Gordon Wittenmyer, who covers the Reds for the Cincinnati Enquirer. Make sure to give him a follow on X at GDubMLB. And Gordon, let's start off with the Reds offseason here. They brought back their closer, Emilio Pagan. They signed lefty reliever Caleb Ferguson, brought in two outfielders, JJ Bleday and Dane Myers. Those seem like they would form a pretty natural platoon there. We know they made an offer to the hometown kid Kyle Schwarber, but he wound up back with the Phillies. Do you envision the Reds making a significant move this offseason? If not, do you think this is enough to compete in the NL Central?
No and no. Their payroll was frozen at last year's levels, and they had a lot of raises. I think they had at one point 13 arbitration eligible guys before they signed a couple guys early and DFA'd a couple more. And they still have two after the filing deadline on Thursday. They still have two guys that they'll probably go to hearings with, and really not a lot of room left in that budget. I mean, they were in talks to possibly trade for Luis Robert. The White Sox were asking way too much in terms of player capital, but were willing to pay the $20 million salary down by about half. And in my mind, Luis Robert's still not a $10 million player on an open market right now, and they asked for a lot, so that wasn't going to get done anyway. But they really don't have a lot of room to work with, so I don't see a significant move, and I think they lost too much to really think that they're going to improve dramatically offensively, which is where it left them short last year.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that offense here. We got some big fantasy questions for the Reds. Elly De La Cruz, obviously playing through a quad injury for most of last season. The steals came way down from 67 in 2024 down to 37 in 2025. Do you expect the steals to go back up here in 2026? Do you think he can approach that 67 again, or is that behind him? Maybe we're looking at like 40 plus. What do you have here on Elly De La Cruz?
I would put the over under on his steals at something in the low 40s range, okay, maybe mid 40s, because not because of the injury. The injury was definitely a factor. It affected him for roughly half the season. But going into the season, there was already an intention that he would run less. The idea being that, the guy he literally played every game last year. He plays shortstop. He's a power guy. He's got that long body. And so the idea when Terry Francona came in, he says, look, I don't need you leading the league in this or that. I need to win games. You steal bases when it makes sense to steal bases. So that was already intent going in. So even if he's fully healthy all season long, I don't see him jumping dramatically from 37 back towards 67 or more. I think it'll be something I think it'll be more than 37, but we're not going to see that. We're just not going to see the attempts.
Right, yeah. So probably somewhere in the mid-40s, I think, makes sense for Elly De La Cruz's steals this upcoming season. The fantasy community, me included, very excited about Sal Stewart. I have to imagine the Reds are very excited about him as well. The only part that we're left trying to figure out is where is he going to play? I know he played third base in the minors. He can play first, maybe a little bit of second base. Is there going to be enough playing time for Sal Stewart just to play every day on this Reds team?
Short of some lengthy injuries to a couple of key guys, I don't think you won't see him play a lot of third base if Ke'Bryan Hayes is available and gives you anything offensively, just because it's such a downgrade from Ke'Bryan Hayes. The middle infield, again, barring injuries and assuming the production levels we're assuming, and with all the sort of platoon personnel they have that can rotate through there, I don't see that either because he's such a downgrade defensively there. It's first base DH. And that becomes, and he did play some outfield last year. So he could see a little bit of time in the corner, depending on, like, if you just have to have his bat in there every day. And he's a fascinating guy to watch because he might have as much upside offensively as anybody they're bringing to camp in terms of guys that have a chance to make the team and contribute. And knowing that they haven't really filled the deficit that they left last season with in that regard, he's going to get opportunities. So if he performs anything close to like he did in that snapshot we saw last year, they're going to have to find a place for him. And I think that's why they talk about Spencer Steer, who was a Gold Glove finalist at first base. They don't talk about him as necessarily their everyday first baseman. And I think Sal Stewart's the reason why.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe they can move Steer back to the outfield. I know that's something he's played in the past, but between first base, DH, and I was watching games down the stretch with the Reds last year, and Sal Stewart, I found out he's really, really close with Manny Machado and kind of idolizes him. And I see a lot in the way that he plays and his bat and just making as much contact and hitting the ball as hard as he does that the fantasy community is really, really excited about Spencer.
I'll tell you what, the fans are excited about him. Yeah. The guy's got a little bit of a swagger and personality. Oh, yeah. And like you said, I mean, he hits the ball so damn hard. I mean, he'll be a fan favorite the minute he establishes himself.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
The new era of UFC on Paramount Plus comes out swinging. The highlight machine collides with the Liverpool Phenom, and the Hall of Famer returns to take on the Bantamweight champion. UFC 324, Saturday, January 24th, only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball. Today we are here previewing the Cincinnati Reds for 2026 with Gordon Wittenmyer, who covers the Reds for the Cincinnati Enquirer. Let's take a look at a sleeper here. You have a veteran who's been around a while, behind the backstop here. He's been great in the past. We just need him to stay healthy. Do you think Tyler Stevenson can do it?
That's my pick for the sleeper going into this season. And there's a few intangible reasons. Look, the tangible reasons are the guy's a really good hitter. He's got some power, and especially when you consider his position. And among the catchers, he's one of the better offensive catchers in the league, and probably ascends a little bit as JT Realmuto descends a little bit. So he's shown it too. When he's been healthy, he's shown it. Last year wasn't a great year for him. He opened the season on the IL, and he didn't really catch up until later in the season. But the intangibles that make me think that he's got a chance to really do something this year is, look, man, he's one of those two guys that I mentioned early on that didn't reach terms with the club on an arbitration level salary. He's headed to a hearing over the difference of about, well, it is $250,000. I mean, he filed at $6.8 million. They filed at $6.55 million. That's a small amount. Most teams will close that gap or just give the guy the money, especially if he's a key guy. This is his last year before free agency. So this guy's in a walk year. He can't be too happy about the way that the arbitration negotiation process went. The Reds don't pay a lot of money anyway. So he could go in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, if not just extra motivation, like a lot of guys in walk years. And he's already got the starting job and the ability. So keep an eye on him.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. I mean, we just saw a couple of years ago, 19 home runs, a near 800 OPS. How much do you worry about the strikeouts with Stevenson? Do you think that was him maybe coming back from the injury last year, maybe playing through some stuff? Because the strikeout rate really, it was abnormal for him how high it was last season.
I do think that it was a big part of it. I also think that if he goes, if and when he becomes a free agent and he goes somewhere where, because he's going to get some good offers and teams that want to win, he's going to be in a better lineup too. He's asked to do a lot in this lineup. He's asked to protect guys. He's asked to drive in runs. I think some of the approach creates a little bit of that too. So we'll see what happens this year, especially if some of the other guys in the lineup that are, it's still a mostly young lineup, especially with guys like Austin Hayes, leaving now, and Miguel Andujar, who was there at the end of the year, he's gone. They're going to rely a lot on their young guys. If these guys take another step, they've been in the league 3 or 4 years now, maybe that helps him too. So I think that, and just experience, I think you're going to see that number improve.
Let's get into your breakout for the Reds this upcoming season. It's a player we know has a bunch of talent. He just has to put it all together and stay on the field for an entire season.
Yeah, and stay off the roids. Yeah. Don't do drugs, kids. Noelvi Marte. 2023, he was one of those 4 big hitting names that broke in with the Reds and gave them a lot of promise going into 2024. Elly De La Cruz, obviously the head of that class, along with Matt McClain, Christian Encarnacion Strand. But Noelvi Marte came in. I think he hit 316 in 6 or 8 weeks. at the end of that season and gave him a lot of promise going in. Then he got popped for steroids and missed half of the 2024 season. He came back, was just a fraction of himself as a player. It was a completely lost season. And when Terry Francona came in at the start of 2025, Noelvie Marte was on the outside looking in, kind of like Alexis Diaz, the former All-Star closer. Had not performed lately. Both of those guys, I'm just as two examples, came in having to earn their place back in the organization and in the big league picture with the new manager. And if anybody knows anything about Terry Francona, you know, you have to earn his trust to play, to even stick on the team. So it didn't work for Alexis Diaz. Most of what his problems were didn't change. Noelvie Marte bought in. He opened the season in the minor leagues. He raked. He did everything they asked him to. He came up when there was an injury. He performed. He forced his way back into the lineup. And then, and this is the big thing, mid-season, they were having all kinds of trouble at two positions, third base and right field. He was part of the problem at third base. He was a subpar fielder, had all kinds of trouble throwing the ball, had never played outfield in his life. They get to New York City Field in July. They work him out one day in right field. They start him the next day in right field. He held his own the rest of the season. He embraced it. He told him when they said, "Do you think you can do it?" He says, "I can do it." He made a game-saving catch to rob a home run that maybe saved the season, the last home game of the year against the Pirates in the 9th inning. This is the growth we saw in a very short amount of time with him. He all of a sudden is one of the two guys that they put at the top of the list going into the season in their outfield plans. TJ Friedel in center field, Noelvie Marte in right field. They're building their outfield plans about that as we sit here right now, or around that. So Marte is poised to really have a breakout. I mean, he's going to play he's going to be the everyday guy going in. He should come in with a lot of confidence. He's in Terry Francona's circle of trust, the way he has bought in and approached things. And he's got the talent. I see this as a really good bet going into this season on that guy.
Yeah, and fantasy players have been dreaming about Noelvie Marte, where if he could just put it together and stay healthy for a full season, we can get a 2020 season, maybe even like 25-25, just dreaming of the upside of what he could become. So we know the talent's there, just has to stay on the field. Big thanks to Gordon Wittenmyer, who covers the Reds for the Cincinnati Enquirer. Make sure to check out his work and follow on X at GDubMLB. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to our On the Beat team preview series, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.